Well, welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast that we bring you each and every week. Uh, just let me fix this. We're not going live on X for some reason. It doesn't like Twitter for some reason. Uh, 1 second now, and we're back. There we go. We are live. This is the Upper Tier Podcast. It's myself, Niall. Just tonight, Mark is away on a short, family, well-earned vacation. I hope you're doing well. Hope you enjoyed the Euros last night, the final. I have to say, I'm kind of relieved now that it's done, to be honest. I had kind of had enough of it at this stage, to be honest. We'll get into it and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the final and then we'll talk about the tournament in general. We're going to get some updates, some different things. We're going to be talking about the Ballon d'Or. Where do we see it going? Would last night have influenced it? Has this tournament influenced it in any way? We're going to be talking transfer news, all the usual good stuff there. We'll give you a breakdown of the final. We'll also be talking about Copa America. Plenty to talk about there. We'll talk about Darwin Núñez and the situation there with the family and everything that happened there. We've seen it over the weekend. We'll also be talking about the final. What a kind of a shit show that was, to be honest, in terms of being organised and all that kind of stuff. But if you could subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, drop a like on the video, all that good stuff that we appreciate. I am back Wednesday as well, I think, with Russ for Pro Wrestling Weekly. It's up there, and I think I might have a show on Thursday. Not sure if I'm going solo or not yet. I'll check with Darren because he's heading over to the British Open on Friday morning early, so he may or may not be available to do the podcast. But if he's not, we'll go solo as we always do. We always put the content out into the chat. Daz is there. Big up, Daz. How are you, my friend? Hope you are good today. Hope you're not too disappointed in last night. I'm sure it was a tough for you guys over there to watch and stuff like that. Built up so much coming home, the opportunity, this generation of players going into the tournament, huge, people gassed up, really excited for a huge expectation on the team to deliver all those kind of things. But it didn't happen last night. And I kind of felt, I felt with England the way they were going through the tournament, so different to Spain. You look at Spain, 7 wins, playing really, really good football. Solid, playing as a team, playing for each other. You've seen how they played even last night with some of that last gasp stuff and all. But, really, when you look back on Euro 2024, it wasn't a great tournament. It was a very, very poor standard. A lot of the bigger teams or the bigger nations, if you like, didn't show up. Maybe the format needs a bit of changing again. It kind of left the draw a little bit lopsided and stuff like that. England, no doubt, had the easier run to the final, and maybe that's probably what hampered them a little bit. Maybe they were playing on a level that was much further below, if you like, than the other team. So obviously Spain had to keep on playing consistently at a very high level to beat the likes of Germany and France and, Italy and teams like that, whatever it was, you know what I mean? They on that side of the draw was murderer's row, basically, and then on England's side it was, kind of Slovakia and Netherlands, it was a much more easier draw. So maybe they kind of, and at times, twice they went to penalty, those extra 120-minute games, the stress and the pressure of the penalties. And I said it from the start on the tournament. I looked at England's first game and I looked at Harry Kane and I said, he's not right. He's not fit. There's no way he's fit. He's nowhere near where he should be. He's not moving in the way that Harry Kane moves. A couple of balls were played through to him in that first game, and he never got near them. And they're normally they're normally bread and butter for him, really. You know what I mean? So easy, That is in. Sorry, that's going to go off now. Got you on my phone, Arrows on TV from Blackpool. Oh, cool. Nice. Love it. But yeah, like I said, there was so many, there was a lot of players really didn't turn up or play anywhere near their potential. when you go back and you look, you get down through that England squad, and you think, right, who were the standout players really? And the standout players were really Mark Gahey, I think, had a really good tournament, came out of it really, really well. I think Cole Palmer obviously comes out of the tournament very strong, didn't get near enough the minutes that he should have. I think Ollie Watkins really, really frustrated last night in that final and stuff like that, comes out somewhat stronger. Kobe Mainu, I think just last night I looked at him and after 35 minutes he just looked absolutely poleaxed. It looked like the expectation and the tournament and the season that he's had, you know what I mean? Because not only for England but also for Man United, I think it just caught up on the kid last night. And it's tough to watch it as well when you see the drop off and stuff like that. Like you look last night, one of the commentators said over here, I was watching it on the Irish channels here, and one of the commentators said after Spain scored, says they just keep on coming forward. They just keep on coming forward. Like that's what you should do. Like, you can't get to the knockout rounds of this tournament and start playing like you're technically playing in the group stage of things. You really have to go for it and continue to go for it. And then when England equalised, beautiful finish from Cole Palmer, slight deflection, all took it away from the keeper, but nonetheless a beautiful strike from the kid. And then I thought, right, England are going to be up for this, they're going to pour it on and stuff like that. And then the next thing they dropped back and it was like 2 banks of 5 and they were so defensive and they were hanging on for their life, and the way Spain was playing against the counter press and the way they were bypassing, the way they were breaking out and the opportunities they were creating. And I think England was just mesmerised by it, to be honest. They just didn't know how to deal with it. They didn't have enough of the ball to influence the game. If you look, and we'll bring up some charts and stuff like that, I think if you look at the final, the final stats for the final were like 65 to 35 possession, which is really, really difficult because it means you're chasing your tail trying to get the ball all the time. You look at the shot 16 to 9, obviously 2-1 and stuff like that. But this chart really, this is all up to analysts as well. Shout out to them as well. But if you look at this chart here, the top chart is England. And it's their possession, basically, their final third passes. And the red ones are obviously the ones completed, and the grey ones are the ones not completed. And you can't be giving the ball away like that in that position. And a lot of the time when they gave a ball away in that position, that's what caused the counter-attack from Spain to put them under pressure. They were just releasing the likes of Williams and Yamal and Morata and players like that and stuff, and it was really causing a problem. Countering that, of course, is the Spanish one, where you look at a Spanish one in the final third. Really good use of the ball, rarely coughing it up. I think it's something like, I can't read it from here, but I think it's something like 80, is it 83 or something like that? 82% accuracy compared to England's 47, which means England in the final third just couldn't keep the ball, couldn't provide the link-up play, weren't doing the things that you would expect them to do. So that's going to obviously cause you a problem as well. And I think the midfield choked somewhat last night. I don't think Rice was at his best. I think Bellingham was pushing hard and stuff like that. And I think the thing about Jude Bellingham as well is he's such an emotional player as well. And you could even see it last night with Ollie Watkins as well, how frustrated when he came on, how frustrated he was. You had Pickford kicking long balls when he should have been playing out from the back. You had Ollie Watkins there. He was getting really no supply at all. He had that one chance that came into him. He kind of fumbled on it and didn't control it and stuff like that. But other than that, what other balls are played in around the back from him and stuff like that, or over the top and stuff, and it just wasn't his game last night compared to the celebrations, in the semi-final where came on Cole Palmer with a beautiful pass and Ollie Watkins gone on to it and got the winner and stuff like that. And of course, what a difference a couple of days makes. And they tried it a couple of times last night as well, where they did try to tread the pass, but they lost the ball. Spain had obviously done their homework on this, And it's really difficult when you look at those charts and you compare them. It tells the tale of the final really when you look at it. So difficult when you're under this kind of pressure and stuff like that. And a lot of it was to do with England just coughing up the ball so easy. Spain very competitive outside of possession as well, really getting stuck in. And we did say like it was really going to catch up eventually. Like I just I felt in this tournament, I felt like you'll get away with that for so long. You'll scrape by on a draw, you'll get by on a couple of 120 minutes, but eventually it'll catch up on you. And I don't know whether it was. I don't know whether it was. There's a lot of kind of newish young players in the England squad or the England team, and they hadn't fully experienced that full pressure of that occasion of a final. I don't know whether just the tournament caught up on them. It's a long, long season. A lot of these guys playing in the England team go very, very deep into their seasons in terms of domestic cups. We know that United won the FA Cup. We know that they were also involved in Europe. We know that they were also, they had a tough league campaign as well. Likewise with Stones and with Walker, long, long seasons. And that could be said for a lot of the players. There's very few players in there, maybe Gahey, Pickford, who don't necessarily have as many games and minutes racked up and stuff like that. So it could have been a combination of that as well, which is really, really difficult. And I think also coupled with the fact that like this kind of squad, when it was picked or whatever, came together really, really quickly. And it didn't really have a lot of time to bed in and stuff like that. And then that coupled with, we have to talk about Southgate as well. And we have to talk about his fear of change, his fear of, putting players out there, his fear of sitting players down when it's not working quite right, Phil Foden, by his levels, would have had a poor tournament. But Bukayo Saka, I don't think, had a great tournament either. I think they really, really struggled. And I just think a lot of it was about mental and physical tiredness. Because these aren't suddenly just bad players. Phil Foden was arguably one of the best players in the Premier League last season. Bukayo Saka, of course, was phenomenal as well for Arsenal last season. And it's just, you go to this tournament, different setup, different way of playing. You're not passing to the guy that you expect to pass to. Darren talked on many shows along with myself about creating these team relationships within your club and bringing it to the international stage if you can, So, maybe it would have worked out better. Maybe if you had Ben White in there, maybe, serving Bukayo Saka, maybe if you did other little things and all, So, but certainly they're going to have to develop a bit more. Obviously, Southgate has an awful lot to think about over the next month or so, what he wants to do, what's going to happen. Does he push on again for the World Cup? Is that what the FA want to do? I think Harry Kane has to think about things as well. And we've seen in the past a lot of players that when it gets to that stage, listen, they just stand down at international level because they've done everything they can to be successful at that level, and then they have to prioritise their club. I think if you look at Harry Kane's situation, it's a tough one as well because, he's tried and he's tried and he's tried. But if you look at the stats that he's developing there, and I'm sure in key moments as well, these kind of things flash across his mind. Bayern Munich lost their first league title in 12 years with him there. He must have surely thought going to Bayern Munich there was going to be a Bundesliga there. And if he had gone in and won a Bundesliga and maybe a German Cup, would have been a different Harry Kane. We know he got injured towards the end of the season. So the question is, Southgate's inclusion of him, should he have been brought? Should he have been stood down? Should he have been, should he have been there at all? Really, really difficult. And then you look at the Spanish team as well, and Spanish team had their injuries as well. Obviously, Pedri with that injury, Gavi wasn't there. You had a lot of the side being made up from Bilbao players and Real Sociedad players. So not necessarily what we would expect at times. But certainly did a phenomenal job, the kids in there. Yamal was outstanding. Nico Williams outstanding. Rodri is just royalty when it comes to midfield. Unbelievable. And the boy in there, Fabian Ruiz as well, was absolutely phenomenal. Carvajal at the back, we know how good he is. And they just did a phenomenal job all around the park, but they really, really fought for each other. They acted and played as a team. And that's huge in these tournaments, especially when you think like for 4 or 5 weeks, you're going to be on lockdown with these guys. You're going to see them every day. You're training with them. You're playing. You're not getting the family time that you need. You've come through a really tough season. You look at Jude Bellingham and all, La Liga, Champions League, all this kind of stuff. Really, 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 tough, serious mileage going into those legs and stuff like that. So then you arrive at this tournament, and you're looking around and you don't have a Camavinga beside you or a Tchouaméni or a Tony Cruz or a Luka Modric. You don't have the guys up front. You don't have a Vinny Jr. It's a different kind of setting, and it's very, very difficult then to kind of cement into that, and especially when you haven't had the friendlies to do it, is really, really difficult. And it's a tough one for us as well, because obviously I'm from Ireland, and obviously we don't obviously have a huge love affair for England in terms of, at international level and stuff like that. But it's hard when some of your club boys are in there as well, the likes of Trent and Joe Gomez. And obviously they didn't get much time and stuff like that. And obviously from the first game, the Trent experiment didn't work. I don't think it was necessarily down to him. Certainly, I think he should have been in at times when Walker was there. He wasn't playing very well. And considering Trent is kept out of the team in relation to defending and stuff like that, I thought Walker was horrendous last night. So that says a lot as well. Let's take some of your comments. Big up Acers. England are always garbage against top nations. Spain won under 23 against England last year and seniors last night. Yeah. Joe Neves not interested in signing for Liverpool, only PSG. No surprise there. I don't think we were ever going to sign him anyway, Acers. I think the talk is, his release clause is 120 million. Liverpool does not spend 120 million on a player. And don't come back to me with that Cachado there, because that was just, you know what I mean? I think when that didn't happen and he won't stay with Chelsea, I think Liverpool were more relieved than anything else. Andrew's in. Big up, Andrew. Hi, Niall. Hope you're well. Good game yesterday. Was a good game yesterday, but just a poor tournament. I kind of felt the tournament didn't come alive until the semis nearly. Maybe a little bit in the quarters, but mainly the semis. But up till that, it was kind of rinse and repeat. As Darren said last week on the show, teams playing not to be beaten, playing for draws, trying to get the penalties and going to shithouse their way through it and stuff like that and all. And there wasn't that many teams out there that played. I mean, if you look at some of the teams there, I think Austria tried well. I think Switzerland tried well. Slovakia, Slovenia, Turkey. They're the main teams that really tried. Everyone else was trying to sail through it to get to a certain point. And it didn't make good viewing at all. It wasn't good, really. Daz, do you think we could get the young winger now? Nico Williams. I don't know. I was listening. If it's Nico Williams you're talking about, Daz, I think Bilbao were saying Barcelona have expressed a huge interest in him. No surprise. And Bilbao were saying that they want to keep him. But I don't think Bilbao are going to be able to keep him. I don't think they can turn down the money, and he's going to go for decent bread. So I think for all parties, I think for his development, he needs a big move. And I think from Bilbao's point of view, they'll get a lovely payday out of it. So I think all parties should be happy. And I think Bilbao are just pushing out their chest there into the market. And I have to say, I'm really looking forward now to covering the transfers, because I have to say it was really jarring during the tournament. Just being linked with everyone, this player, that player. Whoever did a step over that week or dropped a shoulder that week, teams were being linked to and all. It was absolutely crazy, and I kind of had enough of it, honest. That's why I didn't cover a lot of transfer stuff over the last 3 or 4 weeks, because most of it is absolute horseshit, absolute nonsense. We were being linked with everyone. If you listen to the links with us, you swear we were going to buy a whole new team or something like that, Chiellini wasn't sure about putting the build in either. Chiellini on Twitter for Italia Football Italia, I should say. It takes me back seeing the English so enthusiastic and happy, remembering how quickly their mood can change. Yeah, it didn't hold back at all. Acers. Kane is finished. He should just join Saudi Arabia League money. I don't know. I think at club level, I think he's a lot to offer. Look, he had an outstanding. Let's be honest, very hard to judge Harry Kane at the moment. We all judge him on trophies and stuff like that. But Harry Kane himself had an outstanding season in the Bundesliga this year and was outstanding for Bayern Munich. Got injured towards the end and was very unlucky and stuff like that. And it was just one of those anomaly seasons where Leverkusen won the title, and hats off to them, and it just didn't happen. Is it a hoodoo with this Harry Kane? Who knows? We just don't know and stuff like that. I fully expect Harry Kane next season to go in and do the same again, and I also expect um, I would expect Bayern Munich to bounce back and win the title and stuff like that. So he may get his hands on silverware next season and stuff like that. I don't think Harry Kane needs to go off to Saudi at all at the moment, unless that's what he wants to do and the offer is massive. That's different. But I think him himself, I think he still has a lot to prove and stuff like that. And I think the move to Germany will be good for him, and I think it will lead to silverware. I'd be surprised if it doesn't. That's not Williams, the 17-year-old. Lamine Yamal. No, I don't think that's going to happen either. Daz. I think he's one of those kids that you know he's going to end up Real Madrid or Barcelona or something like that. He's just phenomenal. And, he's just going to be an absolute star. We sit back and we talk about Messi and Ronaldo and stuff like that, and what the 10, 15, 20 years we got about those guys and stuff. And we often sit back and we wonder, will we ever see it again and stuff like that? And then kids like this kid come along, 16 years of age, 16 years of age, togging out, going out there against men and seasoned veterans on the pitch and just tearing it up with no fear at all. And to see the smile on that kid's face last night, playing with no fear, no pressure, just like a kid in a playground, or a kid, out on the street playing football and stuff like that, just gliding by players, selling them short, all that kind of stuff. He's just a phenomenal player. Great kid. I just hope he gets the right advice. I hope he's advised the right way, and I hope he doesn't, get caught up in the money and all that garbage that happens, like what we've seen happen with Mbappe and stuff like that. We all love that Mbappe that broke onto the scene and tore the place up and was unbelievable. And then you end up getting wrapped up in this political game and this war of money and all that kind of stuff. So I hope his family does good background there that keeps him grounded and all, and that he just becomes a phenomenal talent. The riches and the wealth comes with it, but the priority should always be on the pitch and stuff like that. And sometimes that gets lost. But no, I don't see him. I don't see him coming anywhere near us. And to be honest, I think they've slapped did they slap a massive clause on him or something like that? Did I read somewhere there's a ridiculous clause on him now or something like that? So not too sure. 8 weeks until Ireland versus England in the Aviva in the Nations League. Yeah, I think you could see a very different England side and probably a New England manager. Who do we think's going to go in there? Would Eddie Howe jump at the opportunity if Southgate walks? Would he leave Newcastle? Graham Potter, maybe. Interesting to see. Certainly, what they do need in there is they need a progressive manager. That's not going to be scared to make those decisions. That's not going to be scared to turn around to Harry Kane and go, "We're sitting you down today. You're injured, or you're not coming to this tournament. You're injured." So that plenty of other really good players didn't go to the tournament because they were injured. So I don't know why Harry Kane gets a pass, and it hasn't been confirmed that he was injured either. But you just looking at the way he was playing and the way he was moving, the guy was nearly seized up. It was weird to me to look at it. Right, let's have a look. Don't forget, folks, obviously, as well, I forgot to flash this up earlier, but as always, the Monday shows are always sponsored by Hogan Elite Trophy Hire. So if you head over to Instagram and also to Facebook, give Marky a follow over there. If you do have any trophy requirements, for a birthday or a wedding or a big occasion or whatever it is, or something, it might even be a funeral maybe for some people, who knows. Hit up Marky there and he'll look after you, of course, knowing that you're part of the podcast and all that kind of stuff. Hogan Elite. So yeah, do that as well. Eddie Howe is completely, utterly fucked now that Amanda has left Newcastle United. Yeah, that was an interesting move, wasn't it? Kind of felt that like they went in there to, glide over that fit and proper test for the Premier League and then get out of town like it was all, sounded like it was all preconceived, really, didn't it? But it'd be interesting. But I don't think he is. I don't think he is. I mean, Eddie had a tough time last season. This season he's going to be heavily judged, I think. I think last season he had a tough time. There was a hell of a lot of injuries. And also they didn't really, obviously the Tonali situation didn't help either. Um, and also trying being back in the Champions League as well. As great as it was, and it's great to see those nights up in Newcastle and St James's and all, and on the road with the fans and stuff like that and all. Um, it kind of hindered their league campaign, didn't it? Really. Um, so yeah, let's see how Newcastle does this season. Let's see who they bring in and who they ship out. And I think it'll be this season will be the season that Eddie Howe is judged on. Let's see what happens. Interesting. So thoughts, folks. Give me your thoughts on this. The Ballon d'Or. Okay. A lot of people talking about this Ballon d'Or going into this tournament, and where people thought it was going to go and what would happen, and you know who would take it, and everyone was talking Vinny Jr. and Jude Bellingham and Kylian Mbappe, and God knows what else. Where do you guys think the Ballon d'Or is going to go? I have the latest betting here. Obviously, Vinny Jr. is heavily out in front. 50% potentially of the vote. He's even money in the bookies as well. Jude Bellingham is second favourite. Rodri is third favourite. Kylian Mbappe fourth favourite. So you've got Evans 2-1, Rodri's 10-1, and Kylian Mbappe 6-1. So coming out of this tournament, has your thoughts on the Ballon d'Or changed? Has Rodri pushed himself up? Rodri obviously being named player of the tournament. I called it last night. It wasn't a difficult one to call. I think with Rodri, it's just one of those guys that gives you an 8 out of 10 every single game. Mr. Consistency, operates at a very high level. And that was the concern last night, obviously, when he came out of it at half time and Zubamendi went in. That was like, I would have thought England would have, that would have perked him up and go, Rodri's gone, well, let's go. But Zubamendi came in, he was unbelievable as well. So really, really difficult to judge at times. But how do you feel? How do you feel about Rodri? How do you feel? I know Rodri's obviously not there. There was a lot of talk that maybe he should have been much higher up in the last one as well. And somewhere along the line, there was probably an argument that maybe he should have been the guy in the Haaland position and stuff like that. But maybe it's not fashionable at times to do that. We've seen it before with Modric and stuff like that. But could Tony Cruz, who's exiting the building, could he be the guy that steps up in terms of the Ballon d'Or? Had a phenomenal season with Real Madrid. Not such a great tournament with Germany. Started out okay. But what's your feeling? How would you feel about Rodri winning the Ballon d'Or? Maybe not the fashionable name, the guy who puts in the hard yards, the guy who puts in the work, doesn't always get. It's normally the prolific, the goal scorers, the flair players and stuff like that. Rodri, as much as he is, he's such an unbelievable player, and the way he reads the game and the way he plays the game. And like his flair work doesn't necessarily, it's not the flair of a Bellingham. You seen Bellingham last night where he turned those two players and stuff like that, and everyone goes, wow, look at that. But Rodri, just his clinical work in the way that he plays and stuff like that, and all. Sometimes often shackled as well as a CDM and stuff like that. I think he offers so much more. He's not beyond getting forward. He's not beyond scoring goals. He does a lot of really good work and stuff like that. And, I'd have no problem with Rodri winning the Ballon d'Or, but let's see what happens. But it's definitely going to be an interesting one. Let's have a quick chat about Man United. I want to have a chat about Man United and get your thoughts on it as well. Obviously, losing 1-0 today to Rosenborg, but that's not that big a deal. I mean, it's probably United only coming into pre-season and stuff like that. Rosenborg well ahead of them at this stage. But Greg was saying on our WhatsApp group earlier that it was the manner in it as well that Rosenborg could have won, 5 or 6 maybe, and United looked awful. But it's the first game of pre-season. It's not really to read into and stuff like that. A lot of players haven't come back and stuff like that. Obviously, Shaw was at the Euros. Mainu was at the Euros. Lots of other players as well from Man United there as well. So no need to read into it that much. But what did you make of this? Sancho back in training last week, which was quite a surprise to most people. And that, fences have been mended, apologies have been accepted, and he's back in there as the group. Is this a move to cement him within the shop window? Or would you actually see, we know there's problems on that left side for United, Anthony, not really great at all. Hasn't really hit the mark at all. So they could do with a player like Sancho back in there. But does he fit back in? Will he be accepted back in, or do we expect him? Is he going to have to put in the hard yards for a couple of months before he convinces people that he's worthy of his place back? Interesting move though from Ten Hag and Ineos, that he's back in there. Do you get the feeling it's a shop window kind of thing, or do you get the feeling that they're actually going to bring him back in? Because it's difficult to find a home for him as well, because obviously they catapulted him in on a lot of money and they pushed him up and stuff like that. So he's expensive. And they also probably have a fair bit of his value on their books as well and stuff like that. And also, it's going to be very difficult for United to get a value for him, but also find a suitor for him in terms of his pay and his wages at such a high level. So yeah, let us know your thoughts on that in the comments, or if you're watching on the playback, what you're thinking on Jadon Sancho. My guess is they're putting him back in there to get him out into that shop window. We know Dortmund are still retaining interest in him, and we know that Juventus still retaining interest in him. But at that value in terms of wages and stuff, it's going to be pretty difficult. Unless the kid values playing football higher than the level of his wages, which generally doesn't tend to be the case. But yeah, it was quite a shock for United fans last week. All of a sudden, training pictures coming out. Jadon Sancho's in training. He's jogging around with Marcus Rashford. He's, doing everything there and all that kind of stuff. So, interesting. Joshua Zirkzee, good signing for United again. Another Dutch kid coming in, and people could throw shade on that in relation to there's often been a lot of talk about Ten Hag and these Dutch players and stuff like that. I think he's a real good sign. I think he's a very tidy player. I think Koeman did him dirty in the Euros. I think, to be honest, he could have given him a lot more minutes. And certainly when they lacked that bit of flair, he was the guy that could have provided that and stuff like that. Willie Cavallari going out, I thought was kind of a strange one. I said it to the United guys on our thread. I said when he came in last season, I thought he did a real decent job. I thought he definitely would have been a squad player going forward and stuff like that. But obviously United, I think he's gone to Villarreal. Obviously United wanted to capitalise on that good academy money, if you like. But interesting that he's gone out the door, that's for sure. Was also a strange one. Other transfer news, let's take a look and see what's going on here. Transfer news was, I want to take a look at this today because there was lots of stuff. Barcelona. What do you make of this whole centre back situation with Man United as well? I'm looking at it. You got Lenny Yoro in the frame. You got Matthias de Ligt in the frame, and also the Bramway deal. Although the transfer has kind of collapsed down, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Maybe they're just sending a message to everything going, you have to be realistic about this, and you have to come back into kind of a realistic market value, if you like, for the kid. The Lenny Yoro one is a very interesting one where United have had a bid accepted, 50 million, I think it's 50 million euro, whatever it is. I think Real Madrid had originally bid at about 17 or 20 million, I think. So obviously now, in order to get the boy, they're going to have to figure out what way that bid goes, and probably going to have to match United's bid in Lille's eyes, I think it is. But certainly a phenomenal talent. Absolute phenomenal talent, and I'm sure it's heartwarming for United fans out there to see being linked with players like this and making moves in the market, something they haven't seen in a long, long time. The Ligt for me is kind of an interesting one. I presume what they're looking here is they're looking for 2 out of 3, and I presume they're hoping, I would think anyway, that they would be hoping that Everton buckle a little bit. Now, Everton aren't under any pressure, obviously, financially now, because obviously Onana's exiting the building and going to Aston Villa. I think it's about 40 million or 40 odd million or something like that, I read. So they're not under as much pressure with this Bramwhite situation. And obviously with the takeover as well in the pipeline as well, I think financially now they're going to be okay. What a difference a day makes, But I do think it's important that this gets tied down and that United get this going. Yoro at the moment obviously is he's leaning towards Real Madrid, and obviously he's entering into the last year of his contract, so he might just sit back and see it out, which wouldn't which wouldn't please Lille at all, and certainly wouldn't please the Lille fans who've been very loyal to him if he would go out the door and Lille wouldn't earn some sort of money off him. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of pressure there applied, either from Real Madrid to move up in the bidding or the United deal to go through. And try and convince this kid not to stick around for one final year and then end up going on a free where basically hoovers up all the signing on money himself at Real Madrid. And maybe that's the way Real Madrid are advising him. But what it could lead to is quite a difficult season for the kid, because I'm sure the Lille fans would see what's developing there and they wouldn't be too happy about it. But again, let us know your thoughts. Are they going for 2 out of 3 here, and are they kind of playing them off each other and all that kind of stuff, you know? Carragher was being interviewed today talking that Southgate is still the man for the England job. He reckons a lot of what he's seen is on the players and stuff like that. I don't think that's the case. I think, yeah, there's a lot of stuff on the players, but I think Southgate, I don't think you're going to change him. I think he just is what he is. Everton are chasing at the moment Wilfred Nanto off Leeds. Very interested in the boy and stuff like that. Especially with Onana going out the door. 50 million deal, actually, it is, according here, what they're talking about here. So, Leeds are not actively trying to sell any players. Sky Sports reporting here after Archie Gray's moved to Tottenham. But certainly Nanto, when you look at Nanto play and stuff like that, he looks like a boy. He kind of plays like an Everton player, doesn't he, when you look at him play? Liverpool interested in the 24-year-old Mo Samakin of RB Leipzig, centre back, being linked with a lot of centre backs at the moment, stuff like that. Also heavily linked with Mark Gay as well. If it was my preference would always be Premier League proven. I think these are players who want to play in the Premier League. I think sometimes when you bring in players from the continent, I think they just want to use you as a stepping stone to either get to Bayern or Real or Barcelona at times and stuff like that. So my preference would always be Premier League proven from players who want to play in the Premier League. Still talks continuing on between Ricardo Calafiori and Arsenal. Must be very, very close at this stage. I was expecting an announcement today or tomorrow. I think nearly everything is done on it. So hopefully, I think everything is kind of, they're just agreeing. I think it's just personal stuff at the moment. It needs to be ironed out and stuff like that, but pretty close to it. Emile Smith-Rowe, someone who the boys spoke about, obviously Kyle and Warren and all spoke about this kid. Obviously a very, very good player. Has had a difficult time over the last 2 years between injuries and kind of not being able to get into the team and various stuff like that. But they've rejected bids from Fulham and Crystal Palace today for Emile Smith-Rowe. I presume that's just a parting shot, basically, to just up the money a little bit. Could be a tidy player for Crystal Palace, especially as Crystal Palace at the moment under a lot of pressure at the moment to keep their players really sought after at the moment. Anything else out in there? Yeah, Arsenal announcing Sambi Lokonga has joined Sevilla on loan with an option to buy for around 12 million euros, 10 million pounds. And also Nunes Tavares has joined Lazio on a loan with an obligation to buy for about 5 million euros, 4.3 million pounds. So Arsenal starting to tidy up the decks there a little bit in terms of these players that have kind of been hanging around that won't have really any input in the squad at all. So surprised actually they were loans at that value. Surprised Arsenal didn't try and get them out the door actually. Bilbao reporting that they're determined to keep Williams amid Barca interest, but I think that's going to be absolutely impossible. I would be extremely surprised at the end of this window if Nico Williams is still a Bilbao player. Very, very, very surprised I would be. What else is in there? Calafiori, most of the talk. West Ham, and it should be interesting now. Obviously, with the Euros done, it should be interesting now in terms of the transfer window should now come alive. Players are available. Agents, are more available to talk to their players and all. They're not as much on lockdown with their international duties and all that kind of stuff. So we should see a lot of movement, hopefully, over the next week or so in terms of players, because it's just been, so far, it's been a horrible transfer window. But West Ham at the moment have made inquiries into Duran off Aston Villa, the boy who was linked with the move to Chelsea earlier in the window. Obviously, they're interested. They've had a look at almost Dominic Calvert-Lewin as well. I don't think he would be a fit for West Ham. I think his injury record would be very concerning for me, and especially in terms of the way West Ham play. It's quite physical. And also, they've looked at Reece Nelson of Arsenal, who I think wouldn't be a bad signing at all for West Ham. I think he could be a decent signing. I think there's a player in there in Reece Nelson. I think if he just gets enough time, consecutive games, finds himself in a team where he's kind of feels wanted and involved and stuff like that. I think Reece Nelson, I think at times when he's come into that Arsenal side, he's shown little bits about what he can do. And I think if there was just a little bit of consistency there in terms of his play and feeling a part of a team, really, and all that, yeah, I think you could see a really good Reece Nelson. We spoke about Joshua Zirkzee. Very good signing on in there. West Ham have also had ongoing talks with Southampton in relation to Kyle Walker-Peters. Now, this is a player that I really, really like. I actually wanted Liverpool to go in for him last season when Southampton were relegated. Probably now that they've come back up, he's probably going to cost a little bit more. But I think Kyle Walker-Peters would be a very good signing for Liverpool. I like the way he plays, and I like his energy. I like his work rate, and I like the way he plays on the wing. They've also made inquiries about Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Could we see Aaron Wan-Bissaka heading back to the capital to play for West Ham? Would be a very interesting move. Again, it just depends what United does in the market. Um, that's really it. There's not a whole lot else there, I don't think, to be honest. In terms of transfers, um, one that I kind of was interesting today. Obviously, Sheridan Shaqiri has announced his retirement from international football. I'm such a fan of Shaqiri. I think he's great for football and all, and I think it's very, very impressive when you think about it. It says the Switzerland attacker is one of only two players to have scored in each of the last three World Cups and each of the last two European Championships. That's impressive. That's impressive. One of only two players. And the former Liverpool and Stoke forward has been involved in 7 tournaments with his country. That's really, really good. Really, really good. And I'm sure he will be really missed around the place for Switzerland. Because I'm sure when he's around the place for Switzerland, I'm sure he just brings fun to the training and all that kind of stuff. He's just a joker as well, but just I'd say he brings a lot to that Switzerland side that people don't hear about and stuff like that and all. AC Milan look like they're interested in signing Alvaro Morata. Obviously, after winning the Euros there, and a lot of talk coming out about how important he is in terms of motivating the players and being around them and stuff like that. We have spoke about experience before when you're around young players, how vital that is. Um, they're looking at paying about 10 million for him and stuff. That's the 10 million release clause, 10.9, 13 million euro. Personal terms to be agreed, but certainly would be interesting to see where he ends up. Alvaro Morata, often vilified at club level. Again, he's not as prolific as people would like him to be, but certainly for Spain as well, not overly as prolific either, but certainly influences the game and creates a lot of space and hold the play and all for the likes of Nico Williams and Yamal to shine and stuff like that. Um, and then finally, we'll just talk about Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. This guy seems to be on the move all the time. Looks like that there's potentially a move going to be wrapped up in the next 48 hours. Move from Marseille to Saudi Arabian club Al Qadsiya, I think it's called. The former Arsenal, Barcelona, and Chelsea forward has already agreed a 2-year deal. There you go, and I'm sure there's huge money involved in it as well. Yeah, so there you go. So that kind of really rounds it out. There's not a whole lot else in there in terms of that. Um, Jedi Master Fulla is in. How are you? Thanks for joining us tonight, as always. The best team won. The best team did win. There's no doubt about it. There'll be no argument here from that. I think I think if England had a won last night, and especially in the way the game was going, I think if they had have won, I think it really would have been an injustice to the efforts of Spain. 7 wins on the bounce. You know what I mean? Just they were the team in the tournament. There's no doubt about it. Played at a very high level every game. Really, really consistent. And I think England huffed and puffed them. I think eventually when they did come up against the better teams, we've seen it a bit with the Dutch and stuff like that. But when they came up against the better teams, you always had a feeling that they were kind of going to struggle, and they didn't have a manager in Southgate who was going to have the bravery that was needed to do what needed to be done to give them every kind of chance to win. And I think for England last night, everything, all the stars had to align. We needed the bravery of Southgate, we needed the performance of the players, and probably a lot of luck as well. And for Spain just needed to go out and perform the way they performed in the previous 6 matches, and that would have been plenty enough to get it done, and that's what happened. But yeah, hats off to them. Phenomenal performance. Um, let's talk about the Copa America. Let's talk about this. You can see up top there. Look at Messi's ankle at that match last night. My God, it's like a balloon. Good Lord. Actually looks deformed. But let's start. Let's talk about the other day. Darwin Nunes, this trouble that was at the Colombian game, and he had to go into the stand, and they were protecting their families, and families were being attacked, and all this kind of thing. And I don't think necessarily there's any issue with that. We heard Bielsa talking about it the other day, the absolute nonsense of potentially Darwin getting banned and all this kind of stuff. I think where the issue lies really is from what I seen. And what I seen was he went in there, protect his family, did all that, came out, and then he went back in for a second bite. Now, obviously, tempers and emotions and everything was flared up, especially with your family. I mean, look at the picture of him there hugging his child like it's his last day on the planet nearly, you know what I mean? So obviously emotions were very, very high. Obviously, again, security is diabolical. Once again, we see a big tournament where things spill over. You see in that top picture there on the left, crazy scenes of people getting crushed in and jumping barriers and tickets not being checked and just losing control and security within these stadiums and stuff like that. And it's really, really concerning when you think about the World Cup coming up. Um, Big win for Argentina, obviously, and congratulations to them on winning the Copa America. Commiserations to Colombia. Uruguay obviously rounding out the third spot. But yeah, really, really concerning and stuff like that. And then the fact that the story came out as well that the guy who was going to punch Darwin down bottom right there is actually a priest. It's actually a priest and stuff like that. Crazy, crazy stuff coming out. But no surprise. I mean, that South American people getting fired up and stuff like that. But I think it would be extremely harsh for Darwin to get let's say like a worldwide ban where it not only affects his place in Uruguay, but also affects his club level with Liverpool and stuff like that. Big up, Henry. Hope you're good, my friend. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Hope you somewhat enjoyed the Euros. Um, but yeah, really, really, really difficult situation. I don't see this is FIFA now waving their big balls again. I don't know how representing Uruguay out there should have any spillover at the club level and stuff like that. I just think that's wrong. He wasn't representing Liverpool out there. He was representing Uruguay. So if there is to be something, or if there is to be a punishment, surely to God it has to be at international level. Be absolutely ridiculous if it spilled over. Um, I do get it that kind of the first time you're going in to protect your family, you get your family onto the pitch, then you should really back off, let it simmer right down, let it settle, and you know let security then do their job. That's what they're paid to do. Basically, that's their job. And you see Darwin running across then the front of the fans there with a chair going flying, and he's up in the stands wanting to box the head off lads and all. And I think if you go back for a second bite at the charity, and we know how emotional these guys are, and we've all experienced that at times on a night out or whatever it is where emotions run high, and you end up getting involved in stuff that you never think you would ever get involved in. So I get it. When it's family, it's even heightened. There's nothing you wouldn't do to protect your family. Um, so I think we should really be behind them, but I think really the organisers of the tournament really need to take a hard look at themselves, because it was disgusting scenes, and even last night seeing fans climbing through rafters and up through vents and jumping over barriers, and tickets not being scanned, and this melee out you see in that top left corner with so many people pushed into an area and stuff like that. This is a recipe for a disaster, and this is how fans go to matches and don't return home after them. And I think they need to look at it. I think FIFA need to look at it. I think the organisers need to look at it. And I think a big review of that Copa America needs to be done, and what they can do better in terms of security and all, because I think this is one of the stadiums to be used in the World Cup. So it's really, really concerning from that point of view. Henry's in. I'm 100% behind Starwin. If he gets a ban for protecting his young family, is over. Yeah, football is over. Yeah, absolutely crazy. Eno's in. What's the crack, Niall? How are you, pal? Good to see you. But also, if fans can't behave, then playing games behind closed doors. Yeah, I know, but that's horrible, isn't it, Henry? Reminds you of COVID times. And especially when you have some of these, the likes of Uruguay and Argentina and Brazil and all. The culture and the colour and the flair and everything that they bring to these tournaments is absolutely huge, and it would be greatly missed, because when you think about it, if you look at the Euros, for me anyway, the Euros, it was the fans who really kept it going, really, because it was kind of a little bit drab. Really, really disappointing Euros. I think a lot of the big teams just didn't show up. A lot of the players are kind of coming to the end of their careers. I'm hearing that Muller retired from Germany today and stuff like that, and all, something like 140 or 130 odd caps. Phenomenal player. What a servant he's been for his country and stuff like that and all. Big up, Doug. Good seeing my friend. Good to see you back at it as well. Liked your stuff there the other day on Twitter, that Premier League podcast that you're doing, stuff like that. Looks really, really cool and really interesting. So fair play. Good to see you back at it. Also, football governing bodies have a lot to answer for, in my opinion, with too much football. Players are not robots. Absolutely. 100%. I think everyone agrees with that. But the problem is everyone has their hand in the pie and no one wants to take their hand out. So FIFA have their agenda, the Premier League have their agenda, UEFA have their agenda, and it's just they don't really get on. They all have a vested interest and they all want their slice pushed forward. So that's really the problem. Doug, doesn't bode well for the 26 World Cup. America ain't ready for World Cup 26. Certainly aren't ready now. That is for sure. No doubt about it. I did. Just spoke about him, Doug. Shaqiri retired from Switzerland too. I did. Just spoke about him before you came on and all. Just such a love for Shaqiri and stuff like that and all. It was mad. I remember I was on holidays in Spain about 5, 6 years ago. It was before COVID anyway, and we were going through one of these markets and they were selling shirts and stuff like that. And they had, I think it was the purple Liverpool shirt, purple with the orange. I think it was either that or it was the greyish one, the grey with the kind of creamy and stuff. And we went up to a guy and Ben was saying, I think I'll get one of the jerseys. And I said, yeah, cool. And he goes, who do you think I should get? And I said, get Shaqiri. He's just cool. He's just a dude, isn't he? He's the dude that you'd want to be around and stuff like that. And also, pity to see him return. Switzerland are going to miss him as well. He's quite the character. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Alberto Moreno. He's just one of these characters. You can't but not like him, and I'm sure he just raises it all the time. So we wish him well and stuff like that. Big up, Doug. Hope you're well too, and the little one, absolutely, and the wife. Yes, all well, thank you. I have high hopes for England this year to win the European Championships, just like back in 2016. England right now should be sitting on 2 European Championships at least. They should have won the last one, and they should have gone into this one as defending champions. And both times, and they didn't learn. It's the same mistakes again and again. That's why when people are talking about Southgate, you hear Carragher today talking about Southgate and how he should stay on and stuff like that. Fundamental mistakes are being made on squad selection, because at times he hasn't picked the best players. On playing, the starting 11s, he hasn't picked the best players. And he fundamentally has never evolved in terms of his style and his way of play. He does the same thing match after match after match. And I think at times England, just at times through some of the rounds and the groups, have been very, very lucky. And I think the draw this time, I think, really, really helped them. And I just think they'll look back on this as a massive opportunity missed. Um, England today should be Euro 2024 champions. There's no doubt about it. But again, what I would say is the best team won. Spain, the team that was the most consistent, the team that looked like a team, the team that was coached. And remember, these are, and I said it earlier as well, these are players from Sociedad, players from Bilbao. You know what I mean? No Gavi, no Pedri. This wasn't a Spanish team made up of Barcelona and Real Madrid players. Far from it. Far from it. Henry, I want to check the score of the winner when playing England. Yeah. And I kind of felt like a Henry, didn't I, when he came on? And he was a buzzsaw when he came on as well. I remember when he came on, he was running right across that front line, covering all three guys. The one thing you'll get out of Shaqiri is he'll always give you 100%. I never forget him as well in that in the Barcelona game. Unbelievable. Remember when we all experienced that lineup? No Mo Salah. We were going, oh, boys didn't let us down. Sure they didn't. Spain were rightly winners, best team in the tournament. Absolutely. Best team, most consistent. Most consistent. But I mean, I think if you look at that Spanish team and you put it on the screen there, man for man, against the English team, the England team, the talent that England team had, the players at Southgate's disposal, and maybe some players that he should have brought that he didn't, and all that kind of stuff. By far, England probably had the best squad, I think, anyway. Maybe with the exception of France, maybe. But yeah, let us know your thoughts on the Copa America. As you said, as Doug said, really, really scary. You think they're nowhere near ready. If this is what they're offering up, FIFA and the World Cup Committee need to get together and shake their heads and think what's going to happen in that case. Can we do a collab show soon, pal? Let me know when you're available. And also, Kane, Mbappe, and others didn't turn up for their teams. So many. We can absolutely do a collab show, Henry. Anytime you want me on, let me know if I'm available. I'll have a look at it this week and see if we'll put something together, yeah? Let me know what you want to cover and what show you want to do, and we'll knock it out of the park as we always do. Yeah, so many big players didn't show up, didn't they? Like, I mean, when you think about this tournament, everyone was going into this tournament quite exciting on the back of the seasons finishing and stuff like that. And we were thinking Mbappe and Musiala and all these kind of players. And, Musiala somewhat showed up. But really overall, when you think about the bigger teams and stuff like that, Gakpo did well, I think, as well. I think there was little pockets of highlights of stuff, of players that showed up and did well. But then there was so many teams that if you looked at the sum of the parts and all, were just like France. Italy was horrible. Absolutely horrible. Probably the worst Italian side I've experienced in my life. That's saying something. And then you look at France as well. France having so many talented players and just being so poor. So poor. Like, you think of the players France had. You look at that French team and you look at their bench and everything and all. So strong. They must look back on it and go, what the hell? Like, and you think about it, when you talk about Ballon d'Or, and we spoke about the Ballon d'Or earlier. I love my football. All those teams had all put in the effort for the 24 European Championships. They did. But I mean, some of the highlights coming out of it were really the likes of the Turkeys and the Austrias and the Switzerland and the Slovakias and Slovenias, Georgia and all. They're the teams that kind of lit up the tournament a little bit, in terms of, what we were kind of getting excited about, Slovakia is so close to putting England out, bar that bicycle kick. So close. Could have been a totally different tournament. I would have loved to see Spain Netherlands final. I'd say that would have been a serious game of football. Cool, no problem. I want to do a show on Shanks era. Yeah, cool. Absolutely. Sounds great. Well up for that. That's for sure. Um, Sounds really good. Yeah. Let me know, Henry, and I'll let you know if we can fit it in and stuff like that. Shouldn't be a problem. We'll get it going. But yeah, let me know. Let me know your thoughts. Any of you have come in late. The Ballon d'Or. We were talking about it earlier. How's your feeling on the Ballon d'Or? Has it changed now coming out of the tournament? Obviously, going in, it was kind of Vinny Jr., Jude Bellingham, and Mbappe, and all this. Has Rodri moved up the list now? How do you feel about that? And I was kind of thinking about the other day as well, and I was thinking about all these Ballon d'Or winners. And I know obviously Ronaldo and Messi have been the most for the last 20 years. They've kind of strangled it with little sprinklings in there of Zidane and Kaká and Modric and players like that and stuff like that. And I was thinking the other day when I looked at that French game and that chance Mbappe had towards the end where he put it over the bar. And I was thinking, if you're a clutch player and you're a Ballon d'Or player, in those moments, that's when you score. That's where you leave your mark on things. Um, you know what I mean? So it's yeah, big up Henry. Enjoy your podcast and stuff like that, and thanks for dropping in. But yeah, I was thinking in those moments, if you're a Ballon d'Or player, you know what I mean? Like to me, Messi scores that. Ronaldo, peak Ronaldo scores that. I mean, obviously the Ronaldo we've seen in this tournament is obviously a very different Ronaldo. Obviously Portugal as well, I'm sure, coming out of the tournament so disappointing. And again, the bravery of having to drop a player and stuff like that. And Ronaldo didn't get dropped. Martinez, poor judgment really. Jota should have got a lot more time really on the pitch, but we know there's obviously an issue there with Ronaldo and him and stuff like that and all. Jota is the one who will get you the goals when you need them and all. Ronaldo was just sauntering around, you know, really felt like his last tournament. And then talk coming out that potentially he might hang around and stink the place out for the World Cup, Crazy, crazy. And the problem is if he hangs around and he stays, the coach is going to force to play him, or otherwise you get a breakdown in the tournament. Really, you know what I mean? You get a breakdown in the camp and the squad. Everything gets derailed. Everything goes to crap, and before you know it, you're out of the tournament and it's done. Um, I got both excited and emotional back in 2016. Myself and Paul Bradshaw had been watching the European Championships 2024. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure he's up there enjoying it, I'm sure he's up there enjoying it. Just to go through the friendlies today, obviously, we spoke about the Copa America, obviously, but obviously, West Ham leaving it late to draw 2-2 with Ferencváros from Hungary. As I said, Rosenborg earlier beating Man United 1-0. Left it late as well, but it again could have been a lot more, but reasons for that. Galatasaray got beaten 5-2 by Fortuna Dusseldorf. And Sevilla, it's half time against Orlando Pirates at Sevilla, and it's 1-0 to Orlando Pirates at the moment. So, not a great start to the pre-season friendlies for a lot of the teams we know so well. But we keep an eye on that as the summer progresses and stuff like that. But like I said, super, super excited to have that tournament done and parked. Really looking forward now to getting into the meat and bones and gravy of the transfer window now, where we can talk about actual proper links with the club, not just this name and that agent putting out that name, this name, and any other name. You're being linked to everyone, being linked to players for positions that you don't even need and stuff like that. Also, going to be very interesting. We will be back with the Shankly sessions as well. I do think we need to have a talk about slot, and we need to have a talk about use, and we need to have a talk about some of the talk that's coming out of the club at the moment and all. And what we really need to do to bridge that gap and stuff like that. A lot of the talk that's coming out at the moment sounds like as if we won the league and won the league cup double last season. But that's not the case, and obviously really, really, really important as well, that we bridge that gap and we get back in there competitive again. And as I said, and I said it on Twitter as well to a few people as well, I'd like them now to stop talking about Jurgen Klopp. Let's talk about what we're going to do and how we're going to develop him, all this other stuff and all. And let's park Jurgen Klopp for the moment now. He's left the building now and it's back. Slot's in charge. Let's not be referencing all the time about Jurgen and stuff like that all the time. It's tough enough when he left. But until next time, folks, I'll just take some of these comments here before we head off. At Doug setting up a Champions League, Fantasy Premier League this week and normal on soon. and Sky Sports 1 as well. Nice. And that's again, when's our friendly Niall at Anfield? I'm not too sure. I haven't looked at our friendly schedule yet. But I'll get it. I'll get it for the Shankly sessions anyway. That's for sure. I think they've only announced one, have they? Are they playing? Is it Sevilla? Is it? Are they playing Sevilla at Anfield? Isn't it? I think. Maybe I'm wrong. But that's the one as far as I know. But until next time, folks, if you could subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, drop a like on the video. We will be back on Wednesday, Pro Wrestling Weekly. If wrestling is your thing, you will enjoy the show. Plenty to talk about this week again. Lots of wrestling news as always. We'll have our flavour of history as well and notable birthdays as always. So that's up there on the channel. Make sure you hit that bell so you're notified for when we're going live and you're ready. And bring all your questions and everything to that show. It's a great, real interactive show and stuff like that and all. As I always say about pro wrestling, there's no wrong opinions, just plenty of different opinions. And I will be setting up a show for Thursday. If Darren is available and he's not caught up going away on the British Open, we'll have a Thursday show with Darren as always. And I got to get Dino back on as well for the Shankly sessions as well. So we'll see when Dino's available. We'll have an overall chat about Liverpool and how we think it's going and, how things are starting to evolve. And hopefully this week, we see some real movement in the market about things we want to do. And, obviously Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards haven't come back in just to sit on their hands and talk about buying French clubs and stuff like that and all. But we shall see what happens. Folks, have a safe week. Enjoy it. Hope you're not too hurt over there in the UK about England missing out again. Listen, put it behind you. Get back onto your club level now at this stage. And until next time, we'll talk again real soon. Cheers, folks.